All right, Greg is finally here.
Hey, Greg, how's it going?
Or Craig, or whatever his name is. He's only been working for us for 3 years or something.
Yeah, something like that. Just over 3 years.
Yep.
In fact, I think it's time for his yearly review.
Oh, no, let's do that next week.
No. I know how to handle it. I've handled this professionally in my environment.
Hang on, let me go. Let me go get the stick, and I can point you to the woodshed.
No, even better than that. Craig, I need you to do a self-evaluation of yourself and then bring that to me in 2 weeks' time, and then I can provide you with feedback on your position. I.e., you tell me how good you did, and then I'll deduct about 35% from that value, and that's your performance evaluation.
Yeah.
That's that's the
Yeah.
secret.
If it was elementary school, you would get a D, which is passing, but it's not great.
Yeah, you give yourself an A, and I'll give you a C minus.
Being generous, C minus. Wow.
Yeah, I know. So,
But
we're here. We're the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Christopher,
I'm Grumpy Dungeon Master Jay.
and we have more production value than Dungeons and Dragons. Beatles and Grimm presents Heroes Feast.
Oh man, I'm so sad that you tied Beatles and Grimm into that.
They're the ones hosting it.
I
Or
know, I
no, I'm
know.
sorry. Beatles and Grimm is he's just wearing a Beatles and Grimm shirt.
Oh,
The
okay.
guy,
Well,
the bad
Matt,
guy from
like is Matthew Lillard on Heroes Feast? I don't even have it going at the moment.
yeah, he is
Oh yeah, there he is. Fuck.
he's making a resurgence with his Five Nights at Freddy's role that he just
Yeah.
performed.
Which I mean, I love Matthew Lillard. He's awesome, but
Yeah.
yeah, their production on this show. So let's talk about what the fuck we're even going on about.
Okay.
Uh,
So we learned a couple days ago through a friend of a friend that they're coming out with two actual play D&D series and a D&D cooking show, and all produced by Hasbro. I believe one is called Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill. The other show is called Encounter Party, and then there's the Hero Feast cooking show based on the Hero Feast book. If you buy the cooking book, which is actually quite a decent cooking book. Um, it launched on Freevee TV via Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you have Freevee TV. So you just go to the Freevee TV section on Amazon Prime Video and scroll down and down and down past the 24-hour Pink Panther, past the 24-hour Iron Chef, past all the 24-hour old shows they used to show on Nick at Night, and keep going down into the dark depths of Freevee TV until eventually you find the Dungeons and Dragons Adventures channel. For me, it's honestly right below Crunchyroll and right above Mr. Beast. So if I
it's it.
was,
It's in the right area. It's just way. I think Crunchyroll should be way higher because I know a lot of people watch that. And Mr. Beast, I would assume, is the same. But at
yeah,
least they had to group this together because it's paid for by Hasbro. So
yeah. So, anyways, it launched today. It's a 24-hour Dungeons and Dragon only channel on Freevee TV, and there's some other secondary app out there that is also hosting it. I can't remember what it was called. But essentially, it's going to be 24 hours of D&D content. A lot of replays of their shows and a lot of streamings of the cartoon. And I believe there's some other stuff that they have prepared to come around. Looking at the current schedule, looks like they're playing the D&D movies and the TV show and stuff like that, and repeating Heroes Feast. High Rollers Lightfall, I believe it's a show they produced a while ago. So a 24-hour D&D television show, and that sounds great. So Jay and I, before the podcast, because it launched literally at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's when we're recording this podcast on Monday. And the first episode of Hero Feast is playing right now. And I can't say that the people that are guesting on the show are bad or anything. I can't hear them. They, for some reason, have swapped the audio and the background music channels. So the only thing you hear is the background music and a little bit of the voice channel. Whereas like that little tiny quiet voice channel should be the background music that they want to be piping through. So someone swapped them around incorrectly. And I know it's not just something on my end because Jay in a whole other state has the same problem. And it's kind of disappointing because the show looks halfway interesting. If you ever watch Food Network, it's equivalent of any cooking show they have on there.
Yep.
You know,
Uh,
so
like the production is obviously there. They got some money into the set and everything, and like it looks like something you would naturally see on the Cooking Network or anything else.
yeah,
Uh, but the fact that they screwed up the audio on their debut show
on the
is
debut hour of the debut show.
is there nobody at all watching that can fix this?
And the worst part about this is like we heard this like not even secondhand, like tertiary hand or quadro hand or whatever the appropriate term is.
Yeah, and it's streaming on some place that I had heard of Freevee. Didn't have a clue what it was. Didn't know anything about it. Had no idea that it was linked to Amazon at all.
And the
Uh,
only reason we found out that it was linked to Freevee is because we had to do digging because the only article that we were given just mentions the show and the show trailers, which are also on YouTube, but doesn't mention anywhere about where we could find it, how we could watch it. The D&D Beyond website doesn't have any mention that these shows are coming out. No links to their trailers. I haven't seen any tweets about these shows. I haven't seen any like PR for these shows or this channel launching
and
from Hasbro or Wizard at all.
let's be clear about how we found where this thing is streaming. I think our buddy had mentioned it to us, but when we went to look tonight to find it, we had to find an article written by somebody else, not related to WotC, not related to Hasbro. And it was at the very ass bottom of their article where they mentioned where it was at. Not even actually even in the article. It's below the article where it says where it's showing at.
Some random person putting it through for us.
Yeah. Like, and this the guy, he writes for a website, Dicebreaker, so he's not related to Wizards of the Coast or anything. There is no advertising, no proper getting out the message of, hey, we're going to be streaming shows now. Good luck, Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro, if you think this is going to survive.
Yeah, and the worst part is too is like you look at the trailers for some of the shows they have coming out, and they generally have a lot of the bigger names that
Mhm.
are involved. The bigger names that not a part of Critical Role involved. You have Deborah Ann Wolf,
Matthew
involved
Lillard, yep.
Matthew Lillard, yeah, a number of other different people who have DM'd or been on the Twitch channels and live streams for a while.
They mentioned in the article that celebrity guests such as Seth Green, and some of these people I don't know, but I'm gonna read the names anyway. Anjali Bhimani, Skeet Ulrich, I remember him. Sean Gunn, Mika Burton, and Patton Oswalt are all going to be on this show at some point.
Yeah. And the other show has like the voice actress for Symmetra and all the Dimension 20 people on there. So like they have all the right people. They have the right setting. They have the right like producers, but then like they fuck up the audio channel so you can't hear anything. And I don't know. Like I don't know what they expect.
I mean, this is actually what I expect. Exactly what we've gotten is what I would expect from everything related to Hasbro currently. Let's just find every way to screw something up so that we lose more money.
Stop losing money, man.
I mean, yeah, we talked about their numbers last week, and it was pretty abysmal. Uh, I don't even remember it, but I was watching another show from the same guy that we got the numbers from, and he was talking about at some point they bought a company for, I think it was $200 billion, or not $200 million or something of that nature, and they sold it for like a quarter of what they paid for it. Like, what
That
the?
was whoever bought Yahoo, that happened to them.
Oh, okay. Well, no,
Tumblr,
it happened to
Tumblr was the
Hasbro.
same way.
Yeah, well, that happened to
Oh,
Hasbro too. Like they bought a company for for 4 times more than they sold it for.
yeah. I mean, I'm not. I never hold that against the company because a lot of the times those big numbers. Oh, you're worth 200 billion. Okay. Oh, now this company's only worth 40 billion. Well, it's like
Yeah,
yeah, because they stripped them all their IP and
sure, yeah.
actual value and distributed amongst everything, and now they're holding back on a bunch of stuff they don't want people to use. So, I mean, that's you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt sometimes. But
Sometimes, but when it comes to Hasbro, it's kind of hard to take that with a grain of salt because they consistently are making what seems to be bad business deals.
yeah, that's true. But I want to talk about these shows because these shows are actually quite interesting. I know I mentioned the titles of them, so let's start with Heroes Feast. Heroes Feast is pretty much some professional chef. Um, can't
His
find
name
his name.
his name says Chef Mike on his outfit,
I
and
don't. I don't. I'm not sure what their chefs' names are, but there's a main chef and then there's like a sous chef, and the sous chef doesn't know how to cook. I can tell by her knife skills, just by watching the show for a little bit, that she doesn't even know how to hold a knife correctly. And then they have a guest who's what's his face,
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard. Um, so that's cool. I mean, they're going through the Heroes Feast cookbook and they're kind of cooking the recipes for D&D. Gronk the Gourmet did that as well too recently on his YouTube channel.
Yep.
So I mean, it's an entertaining enough show when it comes to your standard, Food Network type shows. So if you like that, you'll like this. The other show they have is Faster Purple Worm Kill Kill. And now the concept behind this is you have a group of level 1 players and they have to overcome an encounter with a very very high CR monster. Like let's say 5 level 1s versus a purple worm. And
Oh God.
the whole concept is to survive the purple worm encounter, which can be quite entertaining, but there's a lot of death and everything involved.
I absolutely love this idea.
um, the trailer for the encounter party seemed like a very traditional 6-player 1 DM. We're going through and playing through a number of different encounters / kind of a campaign, and uh, it's kind of along the same lines as Dimensional 20 and Not Another D&D Podcast, where they're kind of just going through an actual play series. So one actual play, one kind of gimmick play show, and then the Heroes Feast show. And no mention at all of the Critical Role cartoon or their series is going to come through at all or be shown on it. But with the amount of effort that we had to go through to find this show, like we're extremely dedicated fans that obsess over this and are using it for content, so we had a reason to go find it. I will
It's
put the link to the article and I'll link to Freebie as best as I can. And that's the best they're going to get, and that's more advertising budget that they are getting, but the more effort than they put into it.
That's right.
Essentially.
We are advertising for you because honestly, I would like to see it. I would actually like to see it succeed. I know myself. I will probably not really watch much of it, but it might be a thing that I just leave on in the background a lot of times.
Yeah,
That alone gives them a little ad revenue.
I mean that's what Freebie TV is. Like I said, there's a bunch of channels on there that's just 24 hours of one show. Like cool, Iron Chef, throw it on in the background, and you're set for
Yeah,
6 hours,
like
7 hours.
like normally I just do that with Roku. I'll have literally Iron Chef as one of my go-tos. I'll just have it on. But now I know about Freebie, and so maybe I'll do the same with this. And since they have a Dungeons and Dragons channel, if they can get the audio working, especially that the fact they're going to be streaming the Dungeons and Dragons '80s cartoon, because I have actually never watched all of it, so that it's a good chance I'll actually keep that on.
To be fair, I have it on DVD and I've never watched all of it.
Same, yeah. Same. I've seen episodes here and there. I've definitely seen the first episode, the first encounter of Tiamat.
Well, it's only CR5 Tiamat.
Yeah, only. Well, let's see. There you go. There's your faster purple worm kill episode right there. You're all a bunch of level 1s survive level 5 Tiamat. Good luck.
I mean, they did. Well, they also had like epic gear at that time too.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
was it? A shield that could block anything.
Yep.
Cloak of invisibility.
A bow that effectively shoots lightning arrow. It's not lightning, but it shoots force arrows. The presto changeo wizard hat that never properly worked.
I mean, but yeah, it's a presto change of wizard hat.
Yep.
Not supposed to properly work. But yeah, I'm glad that this channel exists. I'm not knocking it for that. And we poke fun at the fact that they messed with the production and the sound, but like,
I mean, that's a pretty big mistake on the very first show.
The very first show. Oh
my goodness. But hey, at least the food they're cooking on here looks really delicious. It's some sort of a chili or a goulash or something, and they're topping it with mashed potatoes. So the fatty in me is definitely enjoying that.
I wish I could understand what they're talking. It's a shepherd's pie, man.
I don't know. It's something.
I flipped over to it and saw it. That's a shepherd's pie. Do you not know what a shepherd's pie is?
I know it has mashed potatoes on top of it. I've had shepherd's pie before, but I don't know what's in it.
I don't know what's in it, but it's probably good stuff.
Well, yeah, I don't know what's in a lot of the food that I eat. I mean, honestly, go look at the food you eat, and you're gonna see all this shit that you have no idea what it is.
No, I know the chemicals that will kill me.
Which is most of the stuff that's in your food. Anyway, that can get me on a whole other tangent going that direction. It has nothing to do with D&D.
So I think if you don't have Amazon Prime, Freevee is with ads or something like that.
Well, I have Amazon Prime and I was still seeing ads.
Oh, well, I have ad blocker. I didn't see any ads.
Yeah. I only saw one ad.
All right, fair enough. But that's interesting and that's fun. I'm glad this stuff is going through, and I hope it actually does come to fruition and actually do a lot of cool stuff. Because that might be a way in for a lot of other content creators out there to make shows and do stuff. Like, I would like to see some of the shows that they have on Twitch that have zero production value become actual shows to talk about. Like, in particular, there's a show that they have occasionally on Twitch on the D&D channel that it kind of goes through and basically you just discuss making encounters, and they usually give like design challenges to a bunch of random DMs, and they design like for that little kind of like episode competition.
Yeah.
Format.
No. See, now that's the kind of shows that I would watch. I'm not going to sit here and watch a 3 or 4 hour Critical Role-esque show where people just play Dungeons and Dragons at this point. I've seen that enough, and I play it myself. But setting up other types of shows where, like what you were talking about, they DM challenges where you have to create a dungeon or something, or competition between DMs, like things of that nature. That would actually pique my interest. I would love to see that stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, the ones that are on Twitch, it's not that they're not entertaining. It's just that you have to catch them live. Watching them in reruns kind of suck because you don't have the chat participation, and that's a big part of watching Twitch. So going back and watching the shows later just doesn't kind of work from a Twitch standpoint. But I think you could spin it a little bit and make it a pretty good show. Like, that concept works for me, and I've enjoyed what I've seen, even though I don't make it a point to watch it on a continuous basis via Twitch. I don't actually watch Twitch at all. I know we stream on Twitch a bunch and we do a lot of stuff on Twitch, but like, I don't go there to absorb content. I go to YouTube to absorb content. And
I think I spend maybe 1 hour a week
Yeah.
on Twitch aside from us streaming. I'll
Yeah.
occasionally watch Neebs and them do something, but yeah, it's not my go-to anymore. I think that's for a younger audience.
Yeah. So maybe it works for both, but then again, I don't see why you could be doing it on both. I'm probably licensing agreement or something like that.
Probably.
Is why things aren't falling over. But
I actually kind of want to bitch about the whole Twitch thing and all. Like I know we've talked a million times ad nauseum about how Critical Role brought in so many players to the game, and that is fantastic. I love that that happened. But one thing I've noticed, and we've talked about it a little bit, is that there just aren't enough dungeon masters out there. I saw a post today about Adventures League or something of that nature, and they have all these people signed up that want to play, and like two DMs. Nobody's willing to run games, and I think a lot of that, eh, being a dungeon master is definitely more work, but I think it also has gotten this sort of mystique to it that it did not used to have. Um, like when I started playing, everyone I fucking know dungeon mastered. Everyone. We didn't have just players, we had player DMs. And now it's sort of gotten this mystique where everybody thinks it's way more complicated than it really is. So nobody wants to go out and learn to do it. Do you see something similar to that? Because I know you're actually much more involved in the Adventures League groups than I am.
so my feelings on this, and like right now, I'm very burnt out of Adventures League. Like I don't want to
Yeah,
run it anymore because there's very little from the actual Adventures League core group with helping us out. Okay, as running Adventures League every single week takes up the same amount of time right now as I would have running my own home campaign. I gotta get the campaign book. I gotta figure out how to do whatever is going to happen next within like a 3 to 4 hour session. Okay. Um, and then on top of that, I don't know who's going to be at the table, unlike a normal game. Okay. And everyone that shows up is going to be a main character to have main character syndrome.
oh
Okay.
yeah.
A lot of people don't like Adventures League because we can't involve their PCs as much.
Sure.
If you are a paladin of Bahamut and you want them to be the driving force of what you do, it is going to be a hit or miss, and more misses than ever a hit for your character to have any involvement as a paladin Bahamut in an Adventures League game. Unless that just happened to randomly be the time that we were doing something
With
where
Bahamut, yeah.
with Bahamut.
Uh,
Um, occasionally when players fuck up real bad, or if they're doing something miraculous, I can kind of spin a little bit of their story in there. But a majority of the time, I can't factor in a character's build or anything or backstory because I don't know who's going to be there. Anyone can swap in and out at any time. And it just doesn't work. The only way I've seen to make it work is basically have the consequences of the campaign carry over table to table to table. And I have to retell that every single time. Like when we were going through Frost Maiden, it's like, yeah, you can't go to this city because someone in the adventuring group decided to kill the mayor. You can't go to this city because at one point in time, the adventuring group decided not to stop the witch that was there, and now a ghost possesses everybody there. Okay, so you can't go back there. But you can go here because you have good relations with the blacksmith because the group saved him. You know,
yeah.
so and then
Like
that kind of disassociates a lot of people from showing up and playing that game because now they're not a part of anything there either. So it's this big, massive problem that we have, and it takes up too much time
Like even
to be a DM.
outside of Adventures League, just pickup games or just in general, I feel like it's harder to find DMs than it ever used to be, despite there being millions of more players.
Yeah, because you have to put in 5 times as much
Well,
work for half the reward.
see, this actually kind of leads me to my next point, and this is a problem with 5e, and it's not simply 5e. This is a problem that started with third edition. Um, uh, it's the early editions were generally rules light, other than figuring out THACO. Like they were very simplistic, and you didn't have to have a rule for every single thing that you did. And now the game has become much more board game esque, which I know from WotC's perspective is what they want, because you can take a board game very easily and turn it into a video game. You can turn it into a VTT a lot easier than you can a setting and a system that doesn't have rules for everything. Uh, with 5e, as a DM, you are kind of required to know all the rules, or at least as close to it as possible. I mean, obviously, I don't know all the rules. That's why I have people like our buddy Muffin who knows all the fucking rules. So when I screw something up, he can say that's not how it works, and then I can go look it up. Um, when I started in second edition, that was not the case. If I fucked up a rule, no one cared because it was sort of DM's choice. I was flipping through my Dark Sun books, my second ed Dark Sun books today, and that's actually kind of what pulled me to this topic. I was reading something under the Gladiator, which is a class that you can play, and I'm trying to find the exact wording. Hang on, where are you at? There it is. And here, this is actually in the book. Some magical items, like a ring of protection +2, do not count as armor, while others, such as bracers of defense, do. The DM must rule on a case-by-case basis. Like it's literally in writing saying that, hey, sometimes DMs, you just have to figure shit out. When I started dungeon mastering, I had no one to teach me. I didn't know a single person who played Dungeons and Dragons. I just bought the books and I learned to do it. I got my friends interested in playing and I just ran shit for them. Probably was terrible because that's what happens when you're 15, but we had a good time with it. And I would really, I really hate that 5e isn't that anymore. It never has been. Everybody who gets interested in D&D, specifically if they want to dungeon master, I think feels like they have to know all the rules. They can't make things up. They can't go off book. And we talked about it on here several times, and I will continue every 3 or 4 months. We have to harp on this. If you're the DM, just make shit up. You don't have to spend hours upon hours upon hours preparing your game. If you're running a module, just read through what you need to read through, and if you do something wrong, figure it out.
But see, that doesn't work in Adventures League.
No. I understand. Adventures
it
League
doesn't.
is very strict, but pickup games or your own play groups, you don't have to do all of that.
It really honestly doesn't work there anymore either, because you get a lot of people now who come at you with all the knowledge of the game.
That's what you as the DM always have the power to say. Don't be a rules lawyer. We're
but
doing it this way.
But it's just, I'm tired of that fight.
I mean, it's
I'm
not
tired.
it's not a fight. You're the game master.
But it is a fight.
I mean,
it is a fight every time. It is a fight to go, okay, well, I lost a couple players recently who aren't coming back to my Adventure League game because I killed them.
Okay.
And
bye. See ya.
Right, but when you're trying to build a community, it's really bad. But the situation was, it's like,
that's a toxic person. That's a person you don't want in that community.
It's not that they weren't toxic people. They just,
if they can't handle a game where death is on the line, they shouldn't play the game.
Like I said, I don't. It's not that they were toxic people. It's just that they either thought it wasn't fair, or they thought that the DM was out to get them. Okay, or something along those lines.
Same thing.
And it could have been a lot of things, but they show up there to kind of basically be these superpowered individuals.
Yeah,
and they are for many cases. But when you run into certain circumstances where you have put yourself in the situation where you're not going to win, you're not going to win. Like I even my normal group, we had a point in time where I put them up against an unwinnable situation unless they figured out one very particular key element that would have solved the situation. And it's because like a lot of monsters nowadays, everybody knows metagamey how monsters work. So this is a little spin, little twist on that. And none of the players liked that encounter because they couldn't figure it out, and the monsters were statted really high because it was the only encounter in a day. Um, and just generally,
In other
I
words,
don't, I don't, I don't think that players nowadays go play D&D for that type of challenge anymore, and that's kind of been what I've learned over the past couple of years.
right, and that is a consequence of where fourth and fifth took them.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think it's a player thing. I think it's just the system has kind of brought that to it, where that
Right.
slow dungeon crawl, you have to treat every orc as a different thing and not just as an orc from the monster manual.
Yeah, you as the DM have the power to try to break players of that, and you're not going to break all of them of that. You never will.
I don't think you're going to break any of them of that because it's
No,
just so.
I absolutely have. So I know you can.
Well,
Like one of my current players used to be that guy, and I
he's that guy.
over time I broke him of that bullshit, and now he's a fantastic player.
But you don't. But in Adventures League and in other scenarios, you don't have that time to do that anymore.
I know. That the Adventures League is a whole other ordeal, and that's
well, even in VTT, you don't have that time. You don't have that time to.
Well,
mold players.
I don't count VTT.
Well, playing in person is not the main way people play anymore.
I think it's probably about 50-50.
I don't think so.
I think it is, but that's a thing of how the fuck do you figure it out? I guess you could put a poll. Dungeons and Dragons on their website could put a poll out, and you'd get 10% of the people who play that respond, and that's probably about the best you'd ever be able to figure out. You're talking about your players didn't enjoy that encounter, which kind of brought me to this next topic, which I was planning on talking about. It will just sort of all string it together. There's a post on DM resources that I was reading. It starts out, my group doesn't seem to understand that they can run from combat. We are playing COS, whatever that is, and I'm concerned that they will all fight until the death if they come up. Okay, if they come up against something too early. I've already informed them of the high chance of death, but I already had to pull stuff out of my butt during the bone grinders to prevent them all from dying. How should I address this issue without telling them what they should do, or should I leave it at actions have consequences?
I honestly think that now that Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of out and people have a chance to play that,
where they get to be real superheroes.
No, when you play through the game, there's a couple of times where the DM in the game tells you how the player should feel. And while I hate doing that, that may be what part of the intent of fifth is. Like there are trying to think of something really early. In the game, I really can't think of anything, but there's a couple times where like the DM is talking to the player and there's a situation coming through and the DM says, you feel very strongly this way, but if you don't do that, X is the result of what's going to happen. So you should probably try to avoid that. And then you have the options to kind of like give in, don't give in, go halfway or whatever. Yeah. And honestly, I think like that's probably how they want people to start going again. To kind of go back to that level of kind of hand-holding through a decision encounter, which I really don't like, but I mean, it might make a lot of sense in some cases.
Yeah, maybe. You know me. I'm not for the coddling of players. If you can't handle what's being thrown at you, you should probably find a different game. Because there are DMs who will coddle players and run it exactly how the players want it all the time. Give them, cakewalk challenges just to let them be superheroes, and that's fine if that's how people want to play. And the Adventures League, for the most part, probably should be that way, because it is usually new players or newer players at Adventures League. But if you've been playing D&D for years, 5 years, 6 years, at that point, I would hope you run into a DM who sort of doesn't go kid gloves on you and actually shows you that your characters have risk. Your characters can die. They can be threatened. It depends on how deep your campaign goes. You could start threatening, other NPCs that matter to them, family that matter to them. If they have a keep, shit, blow the keep up. Have a dragon come in and tear down their 250,000 gold keep.
No one has keeps anymore.
Okay, steal magic items from them. Fucking players hate that.
Yeah, that's a great way to get people to never show up again.
At Adventures League, sure.
Oh, I'm pretty sure if I took away my wife's crossbow, she would divorce me.
Quit coddling your wife. now it's the grumpy old man coming out.
Stop having a loving relationship with your wife.
Everybody's game is different. I just think occasionally players should experience hardship with their characters.
I mean, I don't disagree. I don't want every encounter to be so easy that I can just walk through and blender my way through and be done with at the table. I want that in Baldur's Gate 3. Like, I love just being a blender in a video game.
Only you do.
I don't like being a blender in tabletop. Like, for me, it's a very different style of play. I'm not expecting Dark Souls level of difficulty, but I don't mind it if I'm told that's the difficulty ahead of time. Like when you play Call of Cthulhu, like sure. make a character, make 5 more.
Call of Cthulhu is actually a very good game for what I'm talking about as well. Aside from the death penalties of Call of Cthulhu, because it's very easy to lose characters in the game. But that's a game where you cannot rush in. You cannot win those fights. That entire system. If you are fighting the bad guys and they're not just normal cultists, your ass is probably dead. That is a game that is specifically designed to force you to think outside the box on how to beat encounters or how to survive encounters.
Yeah, but like even then, okay, and I can tell this from personal experience, and I'm sure I told the story before, where I was playing Call of Cthulhu. I was playing a shotgun PC that I was given by the DM. Mm-hmm. I put the shotgun in a ghoul's mouth and pulled the trigger, and he goes, "Okay, that's 1 damage." And we're all sitting around going, "What? What do you mean it's 1 damage?" Like, they have resistance to piercing damage, and the shotgun does piercing damage. We're like, "Yeah, but it was in his mouth. You even had me do a check to get it into its mouth."
Yeah, and that's where the DM, like I was just talking about earlier, you can go outside the script. Sure, okay, maybe it rolled for 1 damage and it has resistance or other. But
it just does 1 damage. I rolled high. It just did 1 damage.
Yeah, but I as the DM am probably going to say, okay, you managed to kill that ghoul or at least severely cripple it for the moment.
Yeah. But like I said, like it is a very weird line that you have to kind of like bounce back and forth on, because if you don't always rule on the players get pissed off, and which isn't the way you want the table to go. You have to maintain a presence at the table and be the authority, but at the same time, a lot of times it's the players don't want that either. They want to just be superheroes, and like I said, it's harder with Adventures League. It's easier when you have people at a table. But as to why your main point was why there's less and less DMs, it's too much work. It's so much work. It's so much involvement. It's I run stuff that's from a campaign book, and I have too much time.
But
if I run it not in a campaign book, it might actually be a little bit faster.
Oh, it is.
Um,
It's a lot faster not running a campaign book.
um, but at the same time, too, it's just like you have to balance all these people and all these emotions, and you have to be a project manager through and through, and it's exhausting work, you know.
See,
And that's
it,
why there's no fucking DMs.
it's
Even the encounters and how things are designed are not designed for quick pickup and play. I mean, you have systems that are designed for quick pickup and play, and they're written and presented in a totally different way than
yes.
D&D is, and they kind of need to stretch out, and start giving out some of that content that
Yeah,
way.
I
That
think
would
they
help a
yeah
lot.
they need to release a D&D basic again. Some yeah, a pared down system from what they've got because they're so rules heavy at this point. But I
Yeah,
know
like I
that
said, if I
yeah
didn't have D&D Beyond to help design my encounters, I wouldn't be doing it,
yeah like
because I know there's a lot of great sites out there that can help, but I don't have time for this.
yep. Like I've moved to Pathfinder, which is even more rules heavy. I'm wrapping that campaign up here in just a few weeks, and from that point forward, most of the time I'm going to be running easier systems. Like I will probably run some second edition stuff. I definitely have a Dungeon Crawl Classics campaign I'm setting up in the works. Things that are not rules heavy because I'm just tired of all the rules. It's too much.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, I think sometimes too, it's just people have to take a break from a system and move on to something else,
Yeah.
for a little bit. Um, Even our good friend Jeffrey Legwade's playing Gloomhaven now to take a break from.
Well, Gloomhaven's system isn't out yet unless you got a early copy somehow.
So he's been playing that, and
Just say it. Just, I mean, he could be on the playtest team. Who knows? So,
uh, so
yeah.
so it's
Moving on. Moving on.
it's good. It's good that there's other systems out there, and people have to do that. And all right, episode 2 of Heroes Feast still has the same audio issues.
Oh, I,
I just wanted to check that real quick.
yeah. No, that's fair.
Same audio issues. They
Yeah.
have the voice in the background channel and the music's in the front ground channel.
Got a couple different guests that I do not recognize.
And they have a giant adult dragon mini in the back.
I mean, what else would you keep in your kitchen?
To be fair, I do have an ancient white dragon in my kitchen.
See?
Arr!
Exactly. Uh, damn, where were we at? Oh yeah. Yeah. Sometimes that's one of my concerns is all of these newer players. You everybody begins role playing with Dungeons and Dragons. Like I don't know that I've met anyone whose first game wasn't D&D. And I really hope that people who continue to play the game at least are introduced to other settings and other systems just so they can see there's other things out there besides this sort of video game esque system that is 5e D&D.
But I like 5e D&D.
5e is great. I don't dislike 5e, but I want people to understand there's a lot more out there and some people will end up preferring other systems to it.
And that's
I
the other
know
problem. There's too many systems.
there are a lot of them right now, and there's just more and more coming out. Yeah, there's not enough time for all of them. I've got a handful that I'm interested in, and the rest can sort of probably fuck off unless if I meet somebody who runs them. All right, then I might play in it and learn it. And then there's the fate system, which is terrible. Cough,
I
cough,
like
fate.
the I like the fate system.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about it on here. I'm not a
You're
fan.
just mean.
Well, yeah. Have you met me? It's
Oh,
not that I'm mean. It's just I don't have time for bullshit.
you're mean. Anyways,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, there's that. So on to other news. I got an early Christmas gift today.
Oh, what'd you get?
Um, First off, we've come to the decision in this household that as paying adults, we will buy our child Christmas gifts, and she'll open them on Christmas.
Yeah.
But everything else, we're just going to just give it to each other because we don't. Hey, look what I bought you. I bought you this. It's amazing. Have it now. You don't need to wait 2 months to have it. So what she bought me
But
was
Christmas. No, but your kid has to see you opening presents.
that's true, but it's not going to happen. Anyways,
Wow, you're gonna ruin your kid's Christmas. Good job. What you do is you keep a couple of them back. Like each of you gets like 2 little presents each that you keep back. That way your kid at least sees you opening something.
socks again, Daddy? What the hell?
Perfect. Yes, socks are fine. Get you a Neeb's ugly sweater. Just just a couple of little gifts. The rest of the good stuff you can open ahead of time.
So, anyways, she bought me a. What she got me was a reproduction book called "The Grand History of the Realms" by Brian R. James and Ed Greenwood.
All
Now, this
right.
book came out a while ago. I believe
What,
early 2000s.
what's it called?
The Grand History of the Realms.
All right, I'm looking it up.
And this is like a softback reprint of it.
Oh wow, that's a very expensive book.
It is a very expensive book. It came out in 2007. And it was written mostly by Ed Greenwood. He has all the data in it. But basically, it starts off at negative 37,000 DR to negative 30 DR. And there's actually a page beforehand as to why they're converting everything to DR in this book. And it talks about all the other
So
timelines and time frames.
what is
So
current DR?
current DR is 495, 496 DR. Sorry,
Okay.
1495, 1496 DR. So this book starts off as negative 37,000 DR to 30,000 DR, and then pretty much breaks it down by major event per year, every year, up until 1385 DR. So just at the end of third edition.
All right.
Okay. And so I think that's when this book came out. I think that's third edition was ending or getting close to ending. So pretty much it's every year. So like in 18 or 183 DR was the year of the Murming Dead. Uthgarl Almer the Sea King founds Atlantiar. That's only going to happen in 13 and 183 DR. And then it goes on to 189 DR, the year of the Cal Defender.
COW?
Yeah.
Okay.
Breg the Strong, the mighty berserker, launches a rebellion against the witches of Rashomon when they refuse to name him Iron Lord. On the deaths of the previous Lord, berserkers loyal to Breg cut down dozens of Hearthrands in the first hours of his revolt. And that's like in that year in the Forgotten Realms. That's all that happened of note.
Sure. Yeah. There's
So,
always smaller things going on, but
and then every once in a while, there's like a big like aside where like, hey, in 1823, the lady called Flame appeared, and here's a big page or half a page dedicated just to her,
okay.
and it covers pretty much every single major event. It's like a giant encyclopedia, for the entire timeline that's Forgotten Realms, and like I said, this is a reprint. It only costs $40. I think original copies of the book are like hundreds of dollars on eBay.
Uh,
Um,
they're less. Some are like a first printing is a couple $100, but you can get. I don't think it doesn't say for sure if they're reprints or not, but it looks like 50 to 60.
yeah, that was my wife had that problem. She couldn't tell what was a reprint and what wasn't.
Right. Yeah. And if I mean honestly, the person listing it might not even know. Yeah. They
Yeah.
just
So she found a place that was very particular. We are just reprinting this book, and we're honest about it. And it was $40.
yeah. There you go.
But it's a great piece of thing to have, along with that Dritz book we talked about a couple months ago,
Yeah.
where Dritz explains the Forgotten Realms since about the end of or beginning of fourth edition onwards, as a good timeline for everything that's been happening in the Forgotten Realms. And being that Ed Greenwood has such a big part of this book, I would say the data in here, if it hasn't already been exported to the Wikipedia for the Forgotten Realms, it would be the definitive source for what happens in the
Oh,
realms.
absolutely. I mean, Ed Greenwood created Forgotten Realms. Here he's writing a book, The Grand History of the Realms. I think that's as official as you're going to ever get.
But I'm kind of disappointed they haven't done 1386
And
onwards.
yeah, an updated one. That's probably yeah, a lot of that you're just going to find on the wiki. Most of that is going to be found, honestly, in the novels. And unless you sit down and read 400 novels or whatever, good luck.
I don't know how to read.
Yeah, the Grand History of the Realm. It's a picture book, just for you.
Yeah, when I read that off, I was just a picture of Berserker just like killing him.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to actually be ordering some Dark Sun stuff here soonish. I
What
want to
son?
Dark Sun.
Dark who?
Yeah, second edition Dark Sun. You know,
Son of what?
the best setting ever. The one
I
that will
mean,
the one that will never get reprinted, unfortunately.
imagine
Uh,
they came back with a Dark Sun book and it's just like, oh, magic is back. And is it just Forgotten Realms 2 Electric Boogaloo?
I wouldn't care because I'm just going to be running my second edition Dark Sun stuff. But I want to start filling out my collection of stuff from that era, and Dark Sun was always one of my absolute favorite settings. So I figure I'll start getting a few pieces here and there, and most of it's reasonably priced still, with a couple of exceptions. Some of the box sets are pretty damn pricey.
Yeah, I want to get the D&D Diablo set
Oh
that they have.
yeah, yeah. I'm so
Like
sad
that's
I'm sad I didn't pick that up years ago with third edition because I saw that book many times and never grabbed it. Now I'm like, shit, that thing's worth a lot of money.
yeah. Even the fourth edition Dark Sun stuff, which was really good, and having read through all those,
Yeah,
they're a pretty penny, and they're worth looking into. At least the campaign book for story and stuff like that. The classes probably don't work well
I,
because it's very fourth edition classes,
yeah.
but the setting and everything was very good.
I mean, if somebody wanted to run a 5e Dark Sun game, there's plenty of conversions out there. You can just Google Dark Sun 5e and it'll come right up. I've looked at it before, but I would rather run it the OG way. Uh, My biggest issue is that Dark Sun it's supposed to be a very lethal setting, and 5e is not. It's not designed for lethality. It's too easy to not die in 5e.
Listen, all you got to do is take your party of level ones and throw a mimic at them.
Oh, so it's funny too. I was reading through the original Second Ed Dark Sun box set comes with a couple of flip books, which are that's the module. That's your first level module that you run everybody through. And they really should have just titled it, The Search for Water, because that's what you're doing. That whole damn thing is just you trying to find liquid to survive. And you keep running into bandits along the way, you run into monsters along the way. All sorts of terrible shit happens to you every time you think you're going to find water.
I mean, you just can't create water. I mean, wow.
No, you can, but you can't create enough water for everyone to live. Create water and they actually put it in the book. You can just remove it as the DM and say it does not work, but it doesn't make enough water for people to survive.
Hmm. I was joking. I didn't think you could cast create water in Dark Sun.
Yeah, assuming the DM doesn't remove it, then yes, you could cast create water, but a person needs a gallon a day, I think, is what the rules are, and it doesn't create that much.
Let's be fair here. We've existed with less than a gallon of water a day.
Yeah, but we're also not on a sun-baked desert world. Like if you went out to fucking Nevada out in the desert and just walked around, see if you can get by without a gallon.
Oh no, I would die from the car into the gas station.
Exactly. And then if you're a half giant, it takes twice as much. That you can actually play a half giant though, +4 strength, +4 constitution. Um, you're 10 to 12 feet tall. I know you're all about that. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty close to how big you are.
6'20", half a fucking ton.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I just every time I see Dark Sun too, I think of Tank Girl, and like kind of want to play a Tank Girl setting. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
I actually have the Tank Girl tabletop game.
Is there a Tank Girl tabletop game?
I own it. I picked it up recently.
Give that to me. I want to play it.
It's sealed. I'm probably never opening it.
How much is it?
Uh, how much did I get it for? About $50 or so. And it looks like it's pretty rare. There's only one listed on eBay and only one sold on eBay.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I actually own it. And I no, I kind of get it because Tank Girl is, for those who don't know about Tank Girl, it was a very, very 1990s comic book that was sort of set in a post-apocalyptic world, kind of like a la Mad Max, with crazy sort of mutant animals and stuff, but very, very tongue in cheek.
Ice T was in it.
Yes, he was. They did a movie of it. For those who haven't seen it, it was pretty awful. But
It was a
Ice,
great movie. What
but
are you saying?
but Ice T, in fact, was in it. He played a rabbit person.
He played a gangster rabbit person,
Yeah, yeah,
and it just worked.
yeah. I can't even say it didn't.
Not sure if that's in the source material, but he just did it his way.
Yep.
You ever watch what is it? NCIS where SVU where he plays that cop?
Yes.
Just picture him as a rabbit person, same character.
Yeah, just give him bunny ears and like the two buck teeth, and that's it.
You telling me this guy liked little kids? Yes, I see. That's what a pedophile is. Uh, but yeah,
Anyway.
I think a Tank Girl setting would be really great to play.
Oh well.
I think I'd rather do that than Dark Sun.
Oh well. That's all you. Uh, anyway, at some point I will be running Dark Sun. I almost ran it this weekend. I was supposed to run a Dungeon Crawl Classics, but then too many people canceled. So I hate scheduling. Worst part of DMing.
Tank Girl the Odyssey #3 is only $150 at a 9.8 grade.
Oh my
Tank
god.
Girl Odyssey #2,
Oh,
9.8 grade, 140.
is that a comic book, I'm guessing?
I guess so. I typed in Tank Girl tabletop into eBay,
Oh, okay. I typed
and I got
RPG.
Vintage Madonna Material Girl version black tank top. That's the first result. And then American Girl Felicity tilt tabletop and 2 chairs.
Oh, yep.
And the Pleasant Company American Girl Felicity tabletop only. So two furnitures and a shirt for Tank Girl.
Now, if you scroll down a little further, there's Hooters outfits. Thank you, eBay, for not understanding search terms.
Even adding RPG, just look at the Madonna shirt. What the hell?
I typed in Tank Girl RPG, and all I got was the actual RPG. All right. I think we're about done here. You don't have any more topics to bitch about, do you? Not this week, at least.
No. But there's that one Tank Girl comic that I with her where she has the giant missile boobs.
Yep, everyone who's ever seen anything Tank Girl knows that comic cover.
$250 for a 9.4 graded version of that.
Huh. Well, all right then. Yep, there it is. Tank Girl #1, apparently, from Dark Horse Comics.
I mean, and that's probably why everyone knows it, because it is #1.
Yep.
Comic man. Oh, not related to anything tabletop, but a bunch of people recently, unnamed people, basically trying to well, there's two particular organizations. One's an auction organization. One's a pricing organization. Went out of their way to price and sell a bunch of Nintendo games and old video game cartridges,
Mm-hmm.
and basically evaluated them, made a bunch of perfect copies and perfect grades, and like they recently sold perfect graded in-box sealed Mario Brothers 64 for $2.5 million.
Was it a fake?
No, it wasn't a fake. It was just the auction organization and the grading organization.
Oh yeah, no. This happened last year. This was last year or the year before, actually.
But that's when it sold, was about a year. So they, in the past year, they've been doing that and driving up the prices
Yeah.
of all video games in the industry. So you can actually look at a timetable and see that all video games, like nostalgic video games, have gone up about 600% in price.
Yep.
And now that we kind of know that, people stopped buying vintage video games, and now they crashed
Yeah.
back down to now even the old ones before the 600% price increase are now 50% less because no one's buying them at all anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
You've ruined the market for us.
That's what happens when you cheat people and get caught doing it. Yeah. The fact that the auction site and the grading company were working in tandem to put higher grades to get greater prices on things. I mean, that's bullshit. People should probably be in jail for that, although I doubt that'll happen.
No, it's what rich people do with paintings,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From my understanding, and I've read articles on it, is art is actually one of the highest. For one, it's really used a lot for money laundering purposes, and there is a massive, massive amount of fraud in art in general. So be careful. Be careful what you buy. Don't buy reprinted books.
So no, buy reprinted books.
No, and
As long as it comes by the blessing of the author, like the one I
yeah,
bought today that was reprinted, or I
right.
got today.
As long as you know it's reprinted.
So here's the question: when it comes to reprints and original works, who is the greater artist? The original artist or the forfeiter that makes a perfect copy?
I know it's a good question, isn't it? Um, a lot of times, the person making eh, I want to say the person making the fake is probably better than the original artist. But how do you even really decide who's better when it comes to art? Art, as we very well know, is subjective. Um, like we've talked about it before on here. Like we've talked about a lot of things. I only love original art. I don't really like CG art, whereas you really enjoy CG art and original art. So
It just needs to look pretty, man.
yeah. Whereas for me, I can usually tell that it's CG art and it doesn't look as nice. But
Oh my god, they use a Photoshop brushstroke for this.
yep.
Size 5 with a 2% bend in it.
So it's with art being subjective. How do you know who's really the better artist? That's what they need. D&D needs to have a show where it's art competition. That way we can determine who the best artist is. Looking at you, Larry Elmore, you could totally get on there and teach them how to art.
Teach them how to art. All right.
All right, we're out of here.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, Greg.
Bye.